to meeting, the village board, Village of Roscoe, Tuesday, January 21 at 6:30. Shall we stand, pledge allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Babcock.
Here.
Delacote.
Here.
Petty.
Here.
Clark.
Here.
Simon.
Yes.
Right.
Here.
Here. Item number 1, may I have a motion to approve the minutes from our meeting of December 17?
So move. Second.
Second, and that is fixed.
Fired. She said, great.
Right.
Yes.
Simon.
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Petty.
Yes.
Delacote.
Yes.
Babcock.
Yes.
Public comment. Is there anyone here who wishes to make public comment on any topic germane to our agenda? Okay, there'll be an opportunity at the meeting or at the end of the meeting. Item number 2, I would like to introduce to you again, David Sidney. If you remember, you've met with David several times regarding all of our planning here in the Village of Roscoe. David, would you like a podium?
Sure, or I can, that works. You're fine. Yep, it works. Copies of my project report, and then we'll pull it up on the screen as well. So I'm going to be brief, but walk you through where we've been since November and start to talk specifically about what it would look like for developer engagement for one of the properties that the village owns. So does everyone have a copy? We'll start on page 2. Just really gives you an overview where I'll go tonight as it relates to the Main Street district and the work that we've been doing since November. I-90 Rockton Road, the property, and then just a communications framework that for you to have just some clarity around how we'll work through both the Main Street and Rockton Road project in 2025. We've been kind of flipping back and forth, and then some of our quarterly trustee meetings we've combined and trying to make sure respectful of time and also keep you informed. So as it relates to Main Street, as you see on page 4, we talked about establishing a business district association for Main Street. So that's been defined, and we're over the next 90 days start moving forward in terms of launching that early formation stage. Lots of things that have to be established as it relates to 501c3, but we can get that process going. We gave you a set of zoning recommendations for Main Street, 2 districts, Core and Edge, and your zoning consultant has reviewed our recommendations, have drafted some ordinances that'll be coming forward for your review, going through the ZBA public hearing process. So we're targeting February and March for those public hearings, and then with approvals, you'll be able to now have a consistent development zoning standard for this corridor in place. And as I say here on this page 4, this is going to be very critical for the planning work that we've done over the last several months, right? Now having consistent standards in place as development opportunities come before you. So over the next 2 quarters, as you see on page 5, as we said in our targets right around completing the zoning district adoption, formation of the business district alliance, advancing Hodges Run, the design work, and ultimately moving forward towards construction. Complete the Bridge Street Pavilion parking lot this spring. So I've got a brief update in terms of all the materials that have come in. So that as soon as we're able to move forward on that project in the spring, we will. And then a key part to make sure that both of those sites are successful is working with leadership staff with the programmatic side of it. So how are we programming those spaces to make sure that the businesses are successful there? The last thing we want to do is have too great amenities and not seeing actual incubation of buildings, but also businesses thriving. So we'll be working on that. Page 6 just talks a little bit about I-90 Rockton Road. No significant changes here. Just want to remind you about the market analysis work that we've done. Again, we're building off of a strong healthcare anchor presence along this corridor, and we've identified some complementary uses, which you saw in some preliminary development scenarios back in November. We're going to move forward with the stakeholder engagement process in that area with major businesses and property owners. We have some upcoming workshops being planned for the end of February. That'll be the first one, and then April will be the second one. So that's going to be real key, like we did with Main Street, getting the broader community and the businesses involved in the planning process and coming up with a shared vision for that corridor, and then seeing what can actually move forward. Not every property owner, they all have their own vision for the property too, but we want to see if we can establish a unified vision and then start seeing what's that practical first set of projects so that we can start to advance. So on page 7 is where, and the remaining of my time is where I'll just talk about developer engagement, specifically around the property here on Main Street. Back in November, I just outlined a very high-level 4-phase process of what that would look like. Here is a much more detailed version for you tonight for your review and consideration. Pre-marketing phase, the actual RFP phase, evaluation phase, and then implementation. So as you see here, January, February, what we want to do is to start to, what I'm proposing is that we take all the marketing work that we've done for Main Street, start to package it in an RFQ or RFP process, begin that developer outreach and start moving towards March and April, where we can have release of an RFQ or 45-day kind of response period is what I'm proposing for that. And then ultimately, as you see on page 8, doing some evaluation, assuming we get responses back, then we do some technical review, and to be able to help recommend a choice consideration, and of course, public engagement in that process as well. It's a very fast timeline, but targeting June, that if we get some responses that we could start to, with community input, with your approval, that you could start to enter into some agreement negotiation with a preferred developer. And then 9, 10, 11 really show, and 12 show you just some options for you to consider. If you go down the RFQ process, request for qualifications, versus the RFP process, request for proposals, there's strengths and challenges with both. So I just provided you just an overview of both, what that looks like. Really, the main difference is RFQ is a 2-step process. It allows you, it gives you the chance of getting more people interested and submitting for this property and for any other future village-owned property as 2-step process. It's a more, looking at qualifications, building the relationships, and ultimately moving towards a proposal. The challenge with doing the RFQ approach is 2 steps. It's going to lengthen your timeline, and a little bit more, of course, a little bit more time involved with evaluating, could result in some less competitive pricing. But, again, the strengths of it is it allows for, more flexible collaboration, relationship building, and you really have more opportunity to get responses. And option 2, the RFP process, is, again, it's a 1 stage where you have defined the vision, and what you're looking for, and you put all of that in your package, and you issue that for response. The strengths of that is it's a shorter timeline to getting to selecting a developer. It's more competitive pricing through a direct proposal because you're comparing. So if you get one, I want to get the goal is to get more than one to be able to compare. But if you're getting multiple responses, right now you can actually compare, here's what we want to see, and then how are people actually responding to what. The challenges with that process is you're asking the developer to put in a little bit more upfront work. It takes, just higher costs, soft costs, right? It's the design, perform a development, but at the same time, you're a lot closer to getting towards the project. Really, those are just the highlights of those two processes. Again, there are strengths and challenges to both. And there is a lot of interest that we're seeing through both our community engagement process, but also just the interest that you're all hearing in terms of development along this corridor. So that's really good news. So really over the next 90 days, continuing our process with both the I-90 Rockton Road Gateway, as I said, getting those workshops underway, really looking forward, again, pending ordinance review and public engagement, the public hearings, that we'll be able to approve those new zoning districts for this area. Really concludes that. The last part I wanted to share with you is we've been doing quarterly trustees planning sessions with you, and we'll continue to do that in 2025. But a couple of things that we're going to introduce this year, monthly progress reports. So something similar to this, it won't always necessarily mean that I need to come to speak to you, but you get a monthly progress report. And then staff is getting weekly staff updates from us. And then through our planning projects for both Main Street and Rockton Road, right, property owner communications, business community updates, and then the public information materials. So the website for Main Street District is built, has not gone live yet. We're making some final tweaks, but that'll be a key both your marketing material and also the way for the public to remain engaged in the process. And we'll do something similar for Rockton Road as well.
It'll be linked on our website.
Yes. Yeah, there'll be standalone websites and then linked to.
Carol, we're gonna be able to ask a few questions here.
Yes.
So a couple things. First of all, looking at the RFQ versus RFP. It seemed to me, I have a lot of work in the technical area doing this kind of thing. Here where I don't have any experience with the town, it seemed like an RFQ would be better to get a lot more people interested with their ideas than us trying to figure out the idea, because our RFP has got to be pretty succinct before you get it out. So somebody's going to spend a lot of time preparing that RFP before it goes out. What's your take? And then how many people do you think you're getting interest? Because I think an RFP also are limited to people that might respond versus RFP. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so in both options, you're going to have to do the work of developing the proposal. There's probably more work in just doing a straight RFP than an RFQ, because you can select from those qualified developers if you feel like you have a set of, partner that you
Are
want.
you developing the RFQ or?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So collectively, we'll put that material together. In terms of the second part of your question around interest, was that?
Well, I think an RFQ allows more people to be interested, and maybe they bring ideas to the table versus RFP. You better have it pretty well defined what you're asking them to respond to, because that RFP is pretty hard. It's like, you better respond and do this versus what I'd be concerned about, you'd be limiting the imagination of you and this board versus people that might come from other areas that would have some experience.
Yeah. I would say for the property, you would, if you do the RFP route, you would want to have that vision pretty articulated well in terms of what you're looking for, alignment with the Main Street plan, timing it. So with the zoning approvals, that potentially coming forward, timing it so that way the private sector knows, okay, if I bring this type of project forward, it aligns with your planning efforts, your vision, and I can get through zoning. So that's going to be real key.
Do you have a recommendation personally, one way or the other?
I would say if you're strictly looking at timeline, I would go the RFP route, because
I think we need to get it right versus.
yeah, if you're looking for widening, just getting the reach out as many people as possible, and getting some qualified, interest, that doesn't require developing pro formas and concept plans right away. Go the RFQ. You're not gonna really, when I say longer, you're probably adding a couple of months to the process, but you can still get this all done in 2025 and still potentially break ground on the property. So, but just know that you're adding another step in that when you go to the RFQ.
Right.
I appreciate your questions and I appreciate your presentation. So, originally we talked about having an RFP out. We had a meeting session in December, having a timeline when we would have it in February, right? So that was our original proposal for the Green property. We really just own this property for quite some time now. And, we're interested in potentially, getting it out there. So let's say at least putting a sign up, letting people know it's there. And getting some interest in it rather than just sitting on it, going through these processes. So I guess under the committee of the whole meeting, we have a proposal to move forward with an RFP on this and potentially start the process if approved by the board in March. Is that something you guys can do?
Yes.
So,
But, 1 second, we have a choice between RFQ and RFP, and I don't know where everybody else on the board stands, if they want to go with the RFQ or the RFP.
we have a motion and, we discussed that, right?
Right.
So we discussed it, when you hold, I was just asking David if they're able to do it, because I think there's interest in actually getting signed up, getting some development going and getting it going, so we get it in March. I don't think it's realistic if you're going on this process, having shovel from the ground by the end of the year. I mean, that's just not gonna happen, so just giving us the option to do it. I want to, you guys are capable of doing this, it's something that, we can do, discuss, decide as a board at the.
Yeah, our team, yes, we can, and I can provide, an example too, for another municipality that we just did this, for a property, so.
About the same time.
Similar timeline, yeah.
Okay, so you're doing another this.
My understanding is correct, whichever route we go, we still need the zoning in place.
Yes, I would recommend timing it to where you have the zoning in place for that property. So assuming we can get through the public hearings, and approvals by March, that's good timing, to also release the RFQ, whatever you decide.
Good till March, that'd be great.
Is that
Anyone have
possible
any
to
other
get zoning done? I mean, is that essential? Reading a critical success factor?
It's kind of an initial assessment, Joe, we just talked
It'll be
about.
concurrent, I mean,
Yeah.
it's gonna be concurrent along with this, so when we'll be able to develop the RFP or Q, wherever we're gonna go with it, the same time we're doing the finishing. So the zoning is gonna be, actually sounds like zoning districts, is the recommendation, is doing a zoning district for the downtown. But yeah, we got we'll have the first draft of that, or the second draft, I guess, will be on Thursday, so we'll get that out and see it. I've not seen the proposal yet from Vanderwall. They've gone through several different iterations, but they've worked with Place Foundry, but the process won't be too long.
There also, again, at the committee of the whole, all the board members here can participate in what their vision is for that spot. They would like to see what their idea is. I don't think we've done that. Yes, entity. Anyone have any other questions?
Going back to the Main Street pop-up stuff, when do we start working on the cord cuts, the nuts and bolts? The cost, the maintenance, when should we start putting all that together? I mean, we're gonna be moving forward pretty quick. When are we gonna start getting into how it's gonna function and stuff like that?
Yep, so we established a budget. Would have been July or August of last year. So the design team is working towards that budget, and working through schematic design for the space. The high school students are moving forward with the building aspects, but now it's getting ready for spring. In terms of the, May, June how much can we break ground on realistically for the pads and the retail component? And then there's the playground, playscape component too. We just met with Imagination on that design work as well. So that just started to what are our options? So that's going to be what you're going to see over the next 3 to 4 months start, and then moving quickly towards construction documentation. In terms of the programmatic side, that's what I mentioned earlier in terms of, making sure that as concurrent, so this is going to be all concurrent, that we start working through the programmatic element, who's going to manage it, what's the capital cost? I mean, we have those basic numbers, but in terms of the actual operation of those spaces, the who, and we're trying to select materials that minimize maintenance, which is actually similar to Bridge Streets, going with options that minimize the need to repaint. Just things like that we can do now to get those costs under control. So, but I believe there's a design meeting that's going to be scheduled here pretty soon, where there'll be some more concrete scheduled dates, and I can get that updated to you. Bring that to your attention. So I don't want to give you dates without that meeting happening at this point.
That's fine, as long as we're thinking about that stuff too, because it's great to build it, but if we don't know how we're going to maintain it and run it and rent it and all the core
That's
nuts and
right.
bolts of it, it's gonna fail.
Yeah.
So we have to be doing that stuff along with this other stuff.
Yes.
As long as that's on the schedule, that's the important part.
Well, it is. I had several conversations with some individuals and trying to get them together here to assist us in just exactly that, the management, their ideas as well as the vetting prospective tenants. So we're working on those things in tandem.
We all need to be seeing that stuff too.
So,
Yeah, I mean, literally just getting a hold of them. We haven't actually sat down with them.
Right. Who's them? We have the Rock Valley Junior College has a small business division, and Mike, if you remember, if you let me.
Yeah. Sure. Go ahead. Question.
The individual we met last year is maybe kind of missing in action, but his boss, I've had several conversations with, and we are going to, she happens to be a Brockton resident. She was very excited about meeting and sharing some ideas regarding how this could be organized. But nailing her down for a date. And her is Nancy, can't remember. McDonald, thank you. Nancy McDonald, Small Business Administration associated with Rock Valley Junior
Okay.
College.
All right.
Is it her from Nate or no?
No. However, Nancy is his boss. So Nancy was going to light a fire underneath.
Okay.
And,
Do that right away.
well, let Nancy, her person.
It's a good friend.
Okay, well, there were emails to him, phone calls, whatever. So I shared Nancy and she was follow up.
And you would be like managing it.
I don't know. We're going to sit down and it was identified that we need two things. That we as a village need help in developing what would be a business plan as to how to operate this. And the second tier is some assistance in they recommending what businesses would be a good fit and vetting those businesses that might.
Engage the two women that operate the ones in Batavia, and they're willing to do pretty much whatever we'd like them to do. We can do a Zoom with them. They'd come here and put on a presentation if we want to just start some discussion and get some ideas rolling through our head on how they do they're willing to do that. The sooner, I mean, personally, the sooner the better. So at least we start thinking about stuff like that. Like, here, take that home.
I downloaded that.
That's great stuff.
We can bring all people to the table and.
Yeah, but at least it starts to get stuff thinking and rolling around in your brain about it, but they're more than willing to tell us, show us how they do theirs, and they suggested that we do that. They're open to that.
Is there, I can't remember, is theirs done just seasonally rented?
Yeah, It opens March first and then,
long season, but yeah.
and then it closes right around Christmas.
They did Christmas stuff.
Is there any way to get it year round? Or what's holding that back? Yeah, well, if they go all the way to Christmas, I mean,
Well, I guess we could experiment, but it might very much be based on who rents it and what they choose to do.
yeah, maybe, but.
But they only,
Yeah.
I mean, I see a retail shops, I'd rather see something year round, because then you
There
can
are other-
involve it in the Christmas stuff.
There are concerns all year, because I asked the same question was, do you have your public works people out there shoveling at 8:30 in the morning?
I think we, like, going back to Stacy's comment, I think we should try to limit public works involvement, maybe
Yeah.
hire someone else.
And that's
Try to get it
that's what
to,
they, that's,
you know,
that was their second
try to
one,
get
or hired
that
out.
thing to take care of
Yep.
itself.
You could do it then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can hire landscapers. all
This
that.
is fully.
That was the two options they had.
right,
Because I know when I talked to you, you said we were gonna possibly install the, that also have heat pumps.
Right.
So
Oh, they do.
In the, yeah.
as long as we're insulating them, I don't think that should be an issue. But my other thought too, a lot of them aren't gonna have any running water. I think it would be beneficial to have at least a few that have water. So somebody can have a small bake shop that they bring their stuff that's already baked, but they have to be able to wash their hands. So just having a sink, a utility sink.
So the initial design on that is that there will be like the bathrooms, whatever the bathroom facility, but we'll also have a separate, it says a separate sort of public room, not public room, it's a room for the vendors to have. So we'll have like a sinks and countertops and fridges. So that in theory,
It's a
they could
separate
also do
building.
a separate building. Yeah.
But it will have utilities.
It would have utilities.
Do we know with the health department, it would be able to service something?
That's
like
gonna be
that?
the.
So we'd have to ask.
issue, yeah.
Just that question in general.
still in the planning stages.
Right. Just throwing another thing
Yeah,
out
no,
there, I mean,
it's-
something close to the restrooms, maybe 2 or 3 of them have hand sinks or something, you know. So it's not a huge cost, but. you
We're
can
seeing
get
what
more.
wire would be to run to those few close ones maybe.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Item number 3, may I have a motion to go into executive session for the purposes of discussing a personnel matter? So moved.
Second.
And let's call the roll.
I was looking at the agenda because I was like.
Is I related to item 3?
Babcock,
Yes.
Balakote.
We're gonna-
Yes.
Petty,
Yes.
Clock,
Yes.
Sima,
Yes.
Wright.
Yes.
Or Annie. In my office.
Threw me off.
They have a motion to return to open session. So moved.
Second.
Petty,
Here.
are we have to make a motion?
Yes.
Yes. Clock,
Yes.
Sima,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Yes.
No action was taken in executive session. Okay. Move on to number 4. Okay, going on then to item number 4, the cash reports and bills. I'd like to draw your attention to the fact that we have 2 sets of bills. If you remember, we had a Christmas break. So in the cash report, both of those expenditures are identified. The first expenditure was total $205,074.01. The second group of invoices total $298,464.59. So total bills, $503,538.60. Adding to that payroll, so tonight we're being asked to approve the expenditures out of the general fund of $744,686.78. Also draw your attention to it's salting season, and we had 2 opportunities to do that. And salt costs came in at $49,293.52. So out of MFT and the general fund, total expenditures for approval tonight, $793,980.30. Is there a motion to pay these?
So moved.
Second.
Question? Anyone else over any of them? I know there are a lot of them there in the list. I guess the one big one to call your attention to, there was the first payment for the bridge. Yes, I saw that. About 104,000. The first installment done before they had to shut down to the temperature. Right, we have a motion and a second to pay the bills. Calling for the vote, please.
Babcock,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Teddy,
Yes.
Clock,
Yes.
Sima,
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right,
We sign those already? Are they?
Oh, yeah. I'll bring them out.
and item number 6, we have no year-to-date revenue and expenditures, but you'll be able to take that. Take a look at budget information and review the whole. Right, under consent agenda, item number 7, is there a motion to approve 1 Class D on-premises only beer and wine renewal application for Tacoma's doing business as 815 Pizza?
So moved. Second.
So we have a motion and a second, Madam Secretary, for item number 7. I'll vote. You can.
Right,
Yes.
Sima,
Yes.
Clock,
Yes.
Teddy,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Babcock.
Yes.
Right, going down to public comment. Is there anyone here who wishes to make public comment? Hearing none. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.